Greetings once more, men, women, and orcs. We're going to kick straight off with a question to the audience right now. Please leave a comment below telling me what made you and your group choose the system you currently play now. I would be very interested in hearing. How do you choose the first system you're going to play? What if it is your first foray into RPGs? What if it isn't? And question number 2, how did you choose the first role-playing game you and your group ever played? Now this is truly what this video is about. What is the right system for me, you might be thinking. I'm not going to be as arrogant enough to say that I can tell you what the right system for you is. I'm not going to go and recommend a system and say this is the one you should all play. I've got my personal opinions of what I like as mechanics in a game, and you're going to have the same. It's quite an unexplored subject, I think. Now, I'm not trying to sell any of these pointers to you, any of these systems and games, in what I'm saying. Explaining how I did it as an example of how you might go about doing it. It could be a first rung on that ladder in helping you find the answer. I do hope so. Pick a setting, pick a world that you and your group know best. If it's your first outing especially. The world you know best, between you as a group, you'll be able to immerse in best. If you appreciate and understand the world, you will be able to immerse yourself in that world better and represent yourself properly as one of the official citizens, characters, or heroes of that world, and make it feel like it is the continued experience the creators set it out to be. You could even take an idea and adapt it to a different mechanics rule setting, even if it isn't RPG yet. But it's got to mean something to you. So when we came to start playing together for the first time as a group, we all asked ourselves the question, what do we know best? And we looked at a lot of different systems. We looked at D&D. The guy that was going to GM, he had played D&D before, but the rest of us hadn't, and we didn't really have a desire to. And we weren't massively in love with the concept of the D20 system either. So I suppose the mechanics do come into it a bit, but you can't really have prior knowledge of what the mechanics are like until you've really played the thing, can you? So really you do have to stick to the theme and the RP of the world. And then we looked at the possibility of maybe Star Wars. We were all a bit put off by reading that people faded out of their campaigns while trying to play. They lose their enthusiasm when trying to play Star Wars. And the one we kept coming round to again and again and again was Warhammer Fantasy, and it was 2nd edition. I play Warhammer Fantasy and 40k tabletop, and all of the other players do as well. It was perfect for us. We all understood the world, and we were all able to represent ourselves in the setting in a way that felt fulfilling. Again, I'm not going to use this word realistic, because that's ludicrous in an RPG setting, but fulfilling is quite nice, isn't it? The one we're currently playing now is Dark Heresy, which is based on Warhammer 40k. The other reason on Dark Heresy is that we were already familiar with the mechanics as well, having played Woothrup before. Very little need of new transitioning rules. Now I really do like the percentile dice system. All of the stats are easily laid out. A figure up to 100 is very easy to track indeed, rather than something that can be 1, 2, 3 or 4 or 0 or -0. And these sort of things. A figure out of 100, we all understand percentages. The chances of success are there before you even roll the dice. If you've got 33 in something, then you've got a 33% chance of succeeding without modifiers in some way, shape or form. Also, the way skills are laid out on top of those percentile systems with the particular games that we are playing are all very nicely, clearly defined. It's simply plus 10% or plus 20%, and it relates nicely as skills back to its originating characteristics. Now personally, I'm quite a fan of the D6 system. It rests solidly in a special place in my heart. Those choose your own adventure path type books, those were D6s. I remember being a very young teen and playing those through the early 90s, rolling those little dice. And I remember I had a red one and a blue one, and they were made of wood. They were looking scrappy, and they were the only dice I owned, so I had to make sure I looked after them. But they meant an awful lot to me even at that age. D6s, that is the ultimate of all the dice, isn't it? You could play with those things in a system by tearing the fuzzy ones out of a car and throwing them instead. You probably shouldn't do that. Unless you were playing, I don't know, My Little Pony RPG. God, please do not make that who's going to GM what. Now, we as a group function with the idea that we want to spread the GMing out as much as possible, so that it's not one guy forcibly having to keep GMing all the time. Now, that might be very, very different for some of you. We've got one guy who's been GMing, but he really wants to play, and then there's other people that feel that they would like to GM a certain one, so we want to spread it around. So, for example, the guy that GM'd Warhammer Fantasy is GMing Dark Heresy, and he's probably going to GM Pathfinder one day for us. I like the D6 system, so I'm going to GM Dragon Age Origins. I might even try GMing the old Star Wars game for the group. And one of us is a particular fan of Call of Cthulhu, and he's the one that truly knows a lot about it. And he's never GM'd before. He's a massive Lovecraft fan, and he owns the books. And see, that's going to give a representation and a chance in the spotlight for everybody. Go round in a little circle, and anyone that wants to do it and feels that they've got a system that they would like to try and present to the other players, then they will have their opportunity to do it. You want to really try and pick players in your group with as much similar mindset to you as possible. You ought to, ideally, before bringing somebody into your group, have known them for a little while. You could maybe give them a little subtle interview without letting them know they're being interviewed in some ways, just by asking them questions. You seem like you're interested in them. Ask questions to gauge what their outlook on gaming is, how they perceive fun at the table, and it's going to vary between players, and you've got different player types. Know your players, know yourselves, and the GM needs to know his heart. Choose the system you all love and appreciate best, if it is your first system. If it's not your first system and you're maybe risking burnout on the hobby completely, why not go off into a whole new spectrum you've never been into before? This has been Robert James Freemantle, sometimes in circles called Robert Games Freemantle. Wishing all of you the very best and signing off.